Let's begin now.
What we into this week?
It's jacket fucking weather now. Already. Yeah,
already.
I was like, it's jacket weather.
I was walking Daisy to school today, and she was like, I'm chilly.
Yeah.
And Penelope had like long sleeves on, but was in like shorts. And Daisy had long pants on, but was no jacket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely like the type of dad who's like, well, should have just checked. Like I'm not the parent who's like, you need to wear a jacket. Wear a jacket. Take the jacket.
Yeah. Clearly, you're like, Daddy, I want to have diabetes by the time I'm 10. Sure, yeah, go in the kitchen. And
Laurel actually bought them that candy, that sipping sour.
Nice how you deflected it. Bing! That was mommy.
Yes. I buy them plenty of sweets, but that one was from her.
That shit, where she can do that continuously until the sugar runs out, and then, just find more in your cabinets.
You're like so great about what your kids eat for like their first like 3-4 years of life.
Yeah, because you have to be.
And then once they get to a certain point, you're just like, fuck it.
You're
whatever.
Like, process
Fine.
this. Just go heat up that
Fine.
pizza pocket and those things. Just heat up tacos. I don't care. Let me just sit on the couch for 20 minutes by myself.
What do you mean you can't make your own Pop-Tarts? They've started using the toaster.
Great.
They made themselves waffles the other day.
Do you know that by the time I was 9 years old, like Penn's age,
Yeah.
I was cooking for myself?
Yeah, what were you cooking?
Eggs and like breakfast stuff.
Yeah.
Like I do omelets like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I fuck up some omelets.
I would like to try one of your omelets.
You will one of these days.
Yeah.
I do omelets like it's going out of style. I do pancakes. I do any sort of breakfast kind of food. I got that sort of. I love breakfast food, and I'm really good because I had to be.
What about pies?
You know what? From scratch, I could be better about it. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm okay.
I wouldn't mind putting a finger in your pie.
You got to buy me a little bit more narcotics.
Narcotics. I got plenty, I told you.
Yeah, a couple codeine.
My wife has had a few surgeries over the last couple of years. I got leftovers. That's how you know you're not like a druggie.
Yeah,
We
you just have leftover prescriptions. And I walk in, I'm like,
hey,
I'll have one of these. And one of these.
Pills were not my thing, man. Never my thing.
You know what? They weren't my thing, but I have dabbled. I've dabbled in most things, except for Ronnie and except for crack.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I make it to 65, we already know what's
right.
happening.
Both.
We already know what's happening. Sir, one crack, please.
But sir, you're already on your heroin.
He's like, motherfucker, ain't you from Brooklyn?
What is that accent anyway?
This is how I talk now, based on all the Ronnie that I've imbued. Imbued? Motherfucker, I don't think you're using that right.
Is that at the shelter, or is that at the
that's at the home. I'm definitely gonna be in a home. I'm definitely gonna be in a home.
You'd be the first 65-year-old who goes straight into a nursing home.
Immediately. I'm like, wipe me. Sir, we're not playing this game. Wipe me!
I can see you moving in. You're just carrying your PlayStation.
I'm just in a kimono and holding a PlayStation. Somebody get my bags. Yep.
Oh, ever since we started giving all these elderly people heroin, we've just had this huge increase in nursing homes.
It's going to be a thing for me. It's going to be a thing for me.
What else was the thing for you this week?
You know what? I started my week pretty well. I went Dark Crystal whole hog. I went ham on Dark Crystal.
You want to start with Dark Crystal?
Do you not? Do you have something better to start with?
We can start wherever you want.
Well, I'm going to start with what I was most into this week, and I was most into the Dark Crystal.
Okay.
Both the series and the making of. I watched both in succession.
Throb. At its center, the crystal of truth, the source of all life. The Skeksis have corrupted it. And Now our world is at risk from the darkening.
What is the darkening?
Behold.
I saw something. A vision.
You read too many stories.
No, this was real!
Everything the Skeksis ever told us was a lie. And now everyone and everything is at risk. Join me, so we may finally unite as one against our true foe, the Skeksis.
I have not finished the series
How far are you?
because that shit is long.
Yeah, it's 10 hours.
10 hours.
Yeah, if you watch the making of 11, it's 11 hours.
Right. So I think I just finished the 6th episode.
Okay.
They've all gotten together. Agra has sorry, this is heavy spoiler territory if you haven't seen it. It kind of doesn't matter. I was thinking about this.
Doesn't.
I was thinking about this on the way here.
Doesn't.
Like what is the main appeal of this?
I think for me, it's sort of revisiting the artistry and mastery that was the original movie, and sort of furthering a legacy based out of that shop and that man Jim Henson's workshop.
I'm looking at the cast now.
The cast was actually surprising me. I didn't know that any of these people were.
Neither did I.
Until I watched the making of directly after it, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, what this series is excellence on every level of each team. Post-production, pre-production, art department, sound, all of the disciplines that it takes to do what we do to craft a medium like that. Mm-hmm. Or at its highest level, on its highest display, and it's some of the best television that I've seen in a long time. There were literal instances where I forgot that I was watching puppets.
Yeah, it took me an episode or two.
Yeah, me too. It wasn't initially.
Yeah,
it kind of took me a minute to sort of buy into the world.
Yeah,
because in the original in Dark Crystal, we just get flashed up. We get thrown into this world. I mean that intro is still the most memorable, for me, from the original. The layout of this world and how this is a different age. The movie, this is a different age and a different time. And then you see the Skeksis in the throne room, and they're absorbing light from the crystal. It really was kind of sparse in its detailing of the world. What the series does very strongly and very quickly is fill in all of these shapes and world builds in this most amazing, just the creature design. They show you more creatures that from this world of Thra, and that was some of the most compelling shit for me, is seeing what they would come up with for the creatures, old and new.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different moments in the series where it was just like, oh, we're just going to pan here to the left. We're going to follow this Gelfling, Bria, or whoever. Now, look, there's a little creature there. And then 4 minutes later, where's another little... So it's like it's like they found a bunch of designers and were like, okay, design us a bunch of stuff, whatever you want. We'll probably put it in this, and it works.
Well, what's great is they had some of the OG designers. One of the guy who basically... It was him and Henson basically. Henson was the driver, and this guy designed all of it. Mm-hmm. And him and his son comes. I feel like if you watch the series, you should definitely watch. It's called The Crystal Calls. The Crystal Calls Making the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
Yeah, because I've seen it up there.
It kind of goes through. It goes through how, how we were reporting on this fledgling early when the news had dropped that Netflix had got the rights to do it, and they were doing it, and maybe it was going to be an animated thing, and maybe it was going to be a blend. They didn't know, and the sort of supplementary documentary that goes along with the series kind of charts that they actually show you some of the proof of concept things of what they were doing, because they initially were going to do this. All of it was going to be animated.
Yeah.
And then they reeled that back and they were like, no, well, maybe we'll just do the Skeksis as puppets and then we'll CGI the Gelfling. And they show you the proof of concept for that. And then they finally sort of like peel it all back. They're like, well, remember we were talking about how like Lucas films when they were doing the CGI for Yoda.
Yeah.
How he
Make
was
it
like, make it more like a puppet.
Yeah.
And basically they came to that fucking realization too and was like, well, why don't we just do it all with fucking puppets?
Is it cheaper to use puppets than
no.
CGI? No, that's more expensive.
No. It's hell more expensive.
Really?
Because I mean, somebody has to stick their fucking arm in that thing's and manipulate the mouth. They'll like it. The level, like there's so many parts of this thing that have to go together and work so seamlessly for it to work. Like the performances of the actual like puppets themselves is some of the more master work that is being done that you never hear about, because inherently in puppetry you want to be invisible.
Yeah.
There's literally only one time in the 10 hours that I watched that I saw a person.
Really?
One frame. And you're only on 6, so you won't see it yet.
Okay.
But I feel like that now that I mention it, you'll be clocking for it, and you'll see it.
Find
because you spend almost 10 complete hours in this world, and you never once see a human being until this one. And so I actually rolled it back. I was like, holy shit, what is that? And yeah, and
give me my money back.
It's the only time it breaks the convention. I was like, oh shit, I wish I hadn't seen that.
It's like a dude just eating a hot dog.
Yeah, it's like a dude actually. He has his hand up in a puppet and then another hand in a pie. It's weird. It was actually kind of weird.
I was hoping you were going to make that joke, because if you weren't, I was.
It was just kind of weird.
So Taron Egerton, Mark Hamill, Anya Taylor-Joy, Natalie Emmanuel,
Yep,
Helena Bonham Carter,
yep,
Andy Samberg, Natalie Dormer, Simon Pegg, Alicia
he plays
Vikander.
the fucking Chamberlain.
Yeah. Oh, he does. That's why he's, because the Chamberlain. Now, I haven't seen the original movie in 20 years, but the Chamberlain's in the original.
Yeah, the Chamberlain is one of the more important characters.
Right.
Like that he makes himself the most important character in the first movie, but you get to see how his sort of like how he's the most important character almost in the entire series.
Yeah, and the cast goes on. Eddie Izzard, Keegan-Michael Key, Jason Isaacs, Toby Jones, Mark Strong,
it's
Harvey Firestein.
It's incredible. Like
Sigourney Weaver.
Across the board, like it is mastery from all levels of
Bill Hader
of collaboration that go into this are on their master levels. If this, I'm going on record to say that this show, this series will probably win any category that it gets nominated for. It'll probably win it.
It's kind of. I was not entirely prepared.
I don't think anybody will be.
Like I had seen. You
haven't even seen the original in a bit, right?
Yes.
Even because I remember a couple weeks back I came on the show and I was like, bro, I went back and watched The Dark Crystal and I almost got evangelical about like proselytizing for. I was like, dude, it's so good, and this and this and this and what the series does is it takes what the original kind of did and elevates it to this next level. If there was a religion started tomorrow based on the cult of the Dark Crystal, I would jump in line and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, because it's awesome.
And it wasn't just the story. I think it's just the scope of what this series has done.
Yes, 10 episodes. 10 hour-long episodes, all directed by the same guy. So you're not like it's rare that in a series of this length and this size that you have one director for all of the episodes. And this guy, I think it's a Frenchman, something Lemire Latier or something like this.
Hold on, directed.
It's a French dude. But
Louis Latier.
He's a monster. He's insane.
It's narrated by Sigourney Weaver. That's her voice.
Yes, in the top.
The part that immediately hooked me was I put it on, I was watching it, and all of a sudden it has that opening right at the top.
Right.
Then
I
was
exactly
hooked.
how the original movie starts.
Yeah. Then at 45 minutes into the first episode, I paused it, and I was like, how long is this? And it still had another 35
15.
minutes.
Oh, wait, the first episode is a bit longer than the rest of them. Yes.
And so then I watched one or two more episodes, and they were each an hour long, and I was like, oh my God, are these all an hour long, roughly? And how many are there? 6?
10.
8?
I said the same thing. I wasn't prepared
10?
either.
Oh my god!
The size of, and the crazy thing is, like, every leaf, every piece of moss, every blade of grass, somebody made to look the way that looked. Like I almost say watch the making of before going and watching the series itself. Like, if you haven't already started watching it, go ahead and watch the making of, and then go ahead and watch the series, because it will give you, I think, an appreciation. It will give you a better appreciation of what you're actually seeing.
Yeah.
Like the sort of the mechanics on having to build a set to allow, you know, the puppeteers access to move so these characters can move. There's battle sequences, like, and it's like. For the size and scope of what this thing is, there's almost no CGI. Like, the CGI is almost superficial in its way. There's probably like 1 or 2 instances in the entire series that are completely CGI, and you'll notice them, but you'll notice them in a way that, oh well, wow, that's not practical, but that's still really fucking cool.
Right. It's so epic that it's strange to me that it ever got this epic. Like, it's a Jim Henson wet dream.
Yeah.
They had $25 million to make the first Dark Crystal in 1982.
Oh, shit.
Right?
That's a lot of money in that day. 25 in 1982? That's a lot of bread.
Yeah.
And you saw what came out of it.
Yes.
And Henson wasn't even that satisfied with that. He always felt like the Gelflings themselves, like the puppetry, the face work of the Gelfling wasn't quite there.
Is it better now? I'm going to go back and watch the other Dark Crystal when I'm done with this to compare the two, and then I'll talk about it. But for you who's seen it recently, do you look at this and is this way better than the original Dark Crystal?
Yes.
Way better?
Not way better in terms of storytelling or like any of the world building character, but way better in sort of like the nuts and bolts of and doing some of this stuff practically, like. Seeing skin texture,
right?
Seeing like eye color in a way that is vibrant and dynamic. Like, you look into some of these new puppets' eyes and faces, and you're like, you know, that's an incredible piece of, you know, silicone plastic over shell, you know, with animatronics behind it. The sort of nuts and bolts has gotten
much
better.
more complex. Yeah,
much more complex. It's given the characters more life, but you know, these are still things with someone's arm in them manipulating them out. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, because that's kind of what this is.
The original was described by the New York Times as watered down J.R.R. Tolkien without charm as well as interest.
Wait, who said this?
New York Times of the original.
The New York Times can go kill itself.
It only made $41 million off of its $25 million budget. So basically,
what was it up against?
I don't know.
See, I don't think it was box office acclaimed, but I feel like anybody who has seen this, other than Joe, based on his story last week, where he was like, I told a girl that I liked this because I liked her.
What girl was that?
I don't know, but
that sounds like a cool ass girl.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if she's still available in queue, tell her to holler at me.
Because I had the picture book when I was little. It was like, you know, it was like one of those books you put a cassette in and it was like, turn the page.
Right.
This is the story of the Dark Crystal. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this.
Kids don't have those now.
They don't have those now. They should. I'm about to buy Penelope a record player for her birthday, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Do
kids need their own form to listen to music? Or can
I think they do. I mean, I think when I was a kid, the Walkman, like my first Walkman, my first portable CD player were like, thank you, Jeebus.
Yeah, but everything now is like linked to a phone.
Yeah.
So in order to get her like, you know, what she wants, which is YouTube videos or music of that kind of thing, or Spotify, it has to be a phone linked to a Wi-Fi.
Right.
Whereas you and I was just like, here's a tape.
Yeah.
Oh, you're tired of it? So what?
Yeah.
We're not going to the mall for another 2 weeks.
Flip that motherfucker to the B-side and run it back.
Listen again. So I have a lot of vivid memories of that little tape and that thing, but it was not a success. It made 400 million, so it needed at least make 50 to break even.
Wow. I'm surprised by that. I am really surprised by. I would definitely be interested in hearing your opinion on watching it now as an adult, because I mean, when I think about when I saw this, there, especially having seen this new one is, I feel, darker than the films. Like, the films were kind of dark.
They were very dark.
You know what I'm saying? Like so in their themes and what was going down and how these things were basically, they genocide a race of motherfuckers. And
the podlings are slaves.
Right?
The gelflings are slaves. Like, I mean, it's like a really, really...
It's dark.
Yeah, and this is all about climate change.
And the series it's even darker. Like,
yeah, the series is all... Now, at the beginning of the movie... version is the planet sort of destroyed?
The planet it's mostly burned. Like,
right, so that's where we're going. That's where we're heading. Okay.
Yeah, we're like, by the time we get to the movie, the original Dark Crystal, everything is dead. Everything is dead. And the only things that are really kind of still kicking are the podlings, who are, basically the slaves of the Skeksis,
right,
and the Garmin, who they haven't introduced yet, based on you're only 6 episodes in.
Right.
But you will.
I got the first one. I got one of them. He sends Agra somewhere. He shoots the bow with the arrow.
No, that's a mystic.
Oh, that's
no. A Garmin is one of the foot soldiers that the Skeksis builds.
Oh, right. Those big beetle things. Right. Those are coming.
Those are coming, and once you see how they came to be, you'll be like,
yeah.
Fuck! This is so good. It's incredible.
Like, we could do a whole episode on this
dark.
for sure.
Oh, it's mad dark. Yeah, I think you got to get to the end of it, and like I say, I think the making of is supplementary, but it's optional, but you definitely should watch it.
Right. So there's other things that you can do. There's prequel novels from 2013,
one of
2017, 2018.
That's actually one of the things that the documentary will show you, is that there was a guy that was writing the YA Dark Crystals, like the young adult fan fiction for Dark Crystal, and they brought him in to basically, he basically created he was like a linguistics guy or whatever, and he basically created the podlings language. Like...
Sounds kind of Italian to me.
It does, does it?
It's, yeah. It's almost to that level. I'm like...
Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, spoon.
Exactly.
Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, tree.
He even does the chef kiss at one point. Hup. He goes, mwah.
He's my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
Hup's my favorite character.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's a paladin with a spoon.
Not yet, he isn't.
Gangster.
He wants to be.
He's fucking gangster.
But what's her face who comes up... Is it Bree who comes out of the ground?
Oh, no.
The Gelfling?
No, but
her character is great too. Yeah,
she's one of the best ones. Her journey in it is one of the better one for like character arcs and like character journey. She's one of the better ones that happen.
Yeah. It's just strange to me, like, because I don't know. You could have said Dark Crystal 20 years ago, and I would think most people, especially guys that we went to school and girls that we went to school with, they would be like, what? Oh, maybe that thing that I saw when I was a kid, whatever. Like,
really?
Yeah, like you and I would be into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Wade would be into it.
Right.
We would know about these things. The nerds would know about these things. But it was not in any way like this,
common...
20 years after it had come out in the year 2002, nobody's really talking about the Dark Crystal. So it's just strange to me now that there's all of these actors, this huge budget, this 10-hour series.
Well, this is one of the things I just covered.
Come from?
Well, Eggsy, who does the
Taron Egerton,
who voices the main Gelfling,
Rocket Man.
He, I think he's younger than we are.
Oh yeah,
by a lot. I think.
Yeah. He's like in his 20s,
and he tells a story. Oh god, and he tells a story about
not that he looks younger than us,
right? Not by any stretch of imagination.
If anything, we look younger.
I mean, we look his age. That son of a bitch.
If you don't know us, very young.
But he tells the story of growing up, sort of watching it, and kind of, and in the same way, having the same reaction, sort of joy. I think all the actors that ended up. That they interviewed for the documentary portion of the Dark Crystal all had really strong reactions to watching it as children. And so like Eggsy, he's like, I this is one of the first roles I accepted before I even like signed the contract. He was like, I knew I was doing. I had accepted this role before I had signed it. It was one of those kind of things, and I feel like that would be the same for me. Like if someone was to bring me into a property like the Dark Crystal or something like that, I would jump at the chance,
right? Of course,
because it's something so like that I remember so vividly from my childhood and affected me in that same kind of visceral way. I remember just being like blown away by the puppetry of it all. Mm-hmm. Even the sections that he did, which weren't, you could clearly see were like human beings made to look like, but like film is always sort of like trick. It's camera tricks. You're tricking the audience through a camera, and I feel like Henson's attempt to do it with the budget that he did when he was doing it is something akin to basically like if Da Vinci had built an actual helicopter. Yeah, in the Renaissance, like a fucking he was like, I'm gonna build a helicopter, but and it's not like, and he fucking did it,
and maybe it didn't fly across the country, but it flew. Yeah,
and that's how I feel like the Dark Crystal kind of the original informs a lot of what this series is now.
Yeah,
because it's really good.
It's really good. I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, it's just.
And I feel like go back and watch the original. Go back and watch the original.
I wonder what, and you can't answer this because you can't see into the future, or maybe you can, but what is going to be that next thing that
Rodamos for sure.
That doesn't make a lot of money, but 20 years from now, we're that was amazing. But back when we see it now, we're just it didn't do great. Alita, Battle Angel? I mean,
no, because that was always on a track to do well. I feel like when you're talking about anime, it's always going to be, the curve is going to arc upwards because more and more people are getting interested in anime. More and more people realize that anime is now telling telling diverse stories, all kinds. So I feel like when you're talking about something like anime, probably shouldn't bet that it's not going to do well, because it will. More and more people are into it. The same way that video games have sort of gotten a prominent stake in media and social things now. We reported last week on how there's this burgeoning old people are a strong market now for video games. Mm-hmm. When I say old people, 65 and over, retirement age and over, that's now
so
strong.
us in 5 years.
Shit, us now, motherfucker. What you talking about? These knees is creaky and
my wrists.
I mean, my neck, my back.
Piriformis actually been good, Nicole. If Nicole's listening,
you know what? I meant to say.
I know.
Shout to Nicole Scalavini. Nicole, you're the best. She is the. Can we say she's the official massage therapist for What We Into? She does great work. Nicole Scalavini, holler at her. If you're in the New York area and you need some massage work done.
I thought you were saying that to Nicole. I was like, she's a massage therapist.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were going to be like, Nicole, I know a good massage therapist.
Well, I mean, Nicole, I know a good massage therapist, and it's you, darling. So thank you. But no, you've been going through some of that shit with the piriformis,
the sciatica, pressing on my sciatica,
and you went
to go see her, and she did some work, and I've been maintaining and doing stretches and breathing exercises that she showed me, and it has not come back to that full thing that it did. It has been threatening to come back.
Would you see her again?
Oh yeah, of course, in a second.
So Nick, thanks a lot. We love you over here on What We Into.
It was almost a spiritual thing. It really was.
Most good massage therapists, I feel like that's the way it ends up being. Someone is putting their hands on you, and you're. I thought I had silent. I thought I had put that on silent. And someone is putting their hands on you, and you're exchanging. That's an exchange of energies.
Yeah.
And what Nicole is a super empath.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's one of these people that she feels pain of other people, more so than your typical. So
I came out of it I don't deserve this.
Right. You feel like damn.
She told me thank you, and I was like, no, thank you.
yeah. That's Nick for you. But yeah.
Yeah. Dark Crystal, awesome.
Yeah. What were you into?
We
were both into that this week.
Yeah,
so.
I'm still working through it. I I kept having these nights where I was tired, and I wanted to start that, but I wanted to make sure I gave it enough attention. So instead, I watched 2 other things that I didn't have to give that much attention to, and then ended up sort of getting into them, but kind of angrily in the first case, and then better in the second case. Star Trek Generations.
Now, remind me which one Generations. Is that the one with Bakula?
No. Star Trek, it's the movie with Captain Kirk, and he meets Picard.
The Hardy one. That's the one with Tom Hardy.
No, you're thinking Nemesis. That's the last one, which I'm getting to. But I haven't got there yet.
So these are both movies.
Right. Star Trek Generations and then Star Trek First Contact.
In a distant corner of our galaxy, a secret observatory is attacked. A brilliant scientist is found. And a mysterious ribbon of energy where past and future collide is unleashed.
It's a doorway that we call the Nexus.
But I can't do this alone. I need help.
I know someone who can.
You say history considers me dead. Who am I to argue with history?
You're a Starfleet officer. You have a duty.
I don't need to be lectured by you. I was out saving the galaxy when your grandfather was in diapers.
Now, the torch of adventure is about to be passed.
Eliminate them.
Now Generations is the one where they go back into the past to help somebody get warp technology. Like
that's First Contact.
Okay, gotcha.
Generations is like Star Trek: The Next Generation. The show has ended. It's 1994.
Wait, Shatner's in this one.
Shatner's in this one,
and Picard's the lead in this one. And doesn't Whoopi show up as?
Shatner's also a lead. And Whoopi's in it. Yeah. There's time travel.
I think I remember this one, but I don't remember the sort of... give me the broad strokes on
It's
that.
not terrible, but there's like a guy played by, what's-his-face from Clockwork Orange. Oh my gosh. Give me a second. Malcolm McDowell.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So he's the villain.
Yes,
right?
I remember.
He ends up somehow...
And there's
like
a ribbon. There's he's trying to get back to this ribbon that'll probably get him back to his family or something to that effect.
So it combines like the past of Kirk and the future or present of Next Generation.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so it's supposed to be this like bridge. Right. But I think
I think it was meant to be sort of like a passing of the torch between the 2 different Star Trek franchise movies, because I think they were still making the ones with Kirk, and they started to sort of ramp up the ones that they were making with Picard and that crew.
That's exactly
and this
right.
is sort of like the baton pass,
but they kind of almost drop it.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, you got that, motherfucker? Okay, I got it.
And the reason they almost drop it is because when you get into the movie, all the stuff with the Next Generation cast, they kind of dumb it down. Like Data gets like, especially in First Contact, and then First Contact's better because that's directed by Jonathan Frakes. Yeah, this does not feel like a Next Generation episode. First Contact does. Generations does not.
Generations almost doesn't feel like a Star Trek movie.
It feels Star Trek. It feels like a Shatner Star Trek movie.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but then you have all these Next Generation characters starring in it.
Right.
So then it sort of feels off, and they sort of dumb down the Next Generation characters a little bit, to the point where if you've just watched, like I have, like 6 or 7 seasons of Next Generation, then all of a sudden you've got like this movie where they're kind of these dumber versions of themselves. It's kind of annoying. You know,
I hadn't thought about watching them in that way, but because one of the things that that. Because of you, I ended up on my what I was into list this week was Deep Space Nine.
Right. Okay.
I started over with Deep Space Nine again, and I've seen them in recent time, but it's just crazy to me how many of these I've just completely forgotten, and like now I'm going back and I'm rewatching, and I'm like, God, they're so dated, but they're still so good.
They're so Vaseline smeared,
like so very much Vaseline.
I had to change the settings on my TV to watch it.
I think I might have to.
I have to go to like an old cinematic setting.
I hate the way mine looks. I'm like, God damn.
If you're watching in like high vivid color, it looks like trash.
It really does.
But if you put that like old cinema
really
time,
does, but,
put like the sepia tone over the top.
But, I mean, I'm enjoying like remembering that Wallace Shawn's guest starred on a bunch of these, and. If you don't know who Wallace Shawn is, well, kill yourself, 1. And 2, go and watch Princess fucking Bride.
Yeah. Aunt Dan and Lemon is one of his plays.
Wait, what?
Aunt Dan and Lemon is one of his plays.
He's a playwright?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a better playwright than he's actor.
No shit.
Yeah.
My most intense memories really go back to my childhood. But not so much to things that I did. Instead, I remember things I was told.
Now, Lemon, I'm going to tell you something very important about myself. And there aren't many things I'm truly sure of about myself, but this is one. It is that I never, no matter how angry I may be, I never, ever shout at a waiter. We don't use force. All these other people use force, so we don't have to. So we can sit here in this garden and be incredibly nice. But if they still insist that they can do what they like, well, then all the better. We'll bomb the farms, we'll bomb the villages, we'll bomb the harbors, we'll bomb the cities, and it will be a very long while before North Vietnam will bother us again.
My mother and father had other friends, and they had their own lives, and they had each other, and they had me. But I had only Aunt Dan.
Wow.
Eventually, at some point, God forbid, Wallace Shawn's going to pass, and we'll do some Wallace Shawn stuff. Or maybe we'll just have a whole episode dedicated to Wallace Shawn now.
I'm down.
Because I love his plays.
I love his I love him as the Grand Nagus.
And he's ballsy like Dave Chappelle is ballsy.
Is he?
Yes. In his plays.
Oh, that's awesome.
He has like a whole, like, I wouldn't say sympathetic Nazi character in one of his plays, but he makes you think.
Well, speaking of sympathetic, did you see JoJo's Rabbit preview?
Preview. I've seen an earlier preview. Yeah.
Was this an updated version?
I don't know which one this was. I'm at the point now where, like, I'll probably see that movie depending on. I don't know if I'll see it in the theater. Depends on what's out at the time.
I feel like I don't want to see that one in the theater, but I definitely want to see it.
Yeah.
Or if I do see it in the theater, I don't want to pay for it.
Yes. We got to figure out how to do that.
We definitely got to figure out how to do that.
Then we can see a lot more movies.
Oh my God! Wouldn't that be the dream? That'd be the dream. The projecting long-term dreams for the podcast and for us. I would like us to be sort of like the new age Siskel and Ebert.
Yes.
Except cool.
They have, like, if you go back on YouTube and you watch their old episodes, they have some of the best, like, theme music.
They do.
Maybe for this episode, I'll play some.
I definitely remember. And I think when you initially pitched this idea to me about, like, doing this podcast, that's initially what I thought in my head is us, Siskel and Ebert. But I feel like I'm Gene Siskel, and I feel like you're Ebert.
I'll be Ebert. Isn't Ebert still alive?
Yeah, I think he is.
Didn't Siskel get fat? And Ebert was always like...
I thought Ebert was the thin one, and Siskel was the fat one.
Yeah. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So you're fat, I'm skinny.
No, I'm skinny. You're the fat one, you fuck.
I think because they review movies and sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong, but they've got their whole stick going on.
It's a back and forth thing that, I mean, I think that was my first sort of experience with, like, anyone critiquing anything,
right?
You know, like and they don't do that anymore. There's no, like, hey, here's a weekly show just completely dedicated to, like, the arts medium of movies that
or Netflix. I mean, there's a version of this podcast that we could do that we do every single week, and it just goes up straight to Netflix, and it's just them filming us talking about Netflix shows,
right?
Or any show we want,
right? That would.
I mean, it could be just Netflix shows.
I mean, and because Netflix has been, I think they are slowly but surely edging. I mean, did you see the one of the things I meant to bring? One of the things I was into this week, getting back to what we were into, was
what we're supposed to do.
Between the Two Ferns movie trailer.
I haven't watched it yet, but I saw it.
It's goddamn ridiculous.
Welcome to another edition of Between Two Ferns, and my guest today is Matthew McConaughey.
Good to be here, Zach.
Of all the things you can win an Oscar for, how surprised are you that you won one for acting?
Here we go.
I noticed that you're wearing a shirt. Is everything okay?
And you have a major leak in here.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. See what's going on with these pipes.
Dude, don't do that.
Help! Who is the idiot?
I like that show.
I haven't seen a lot of the show.
This is Zach Galifianakis.
But Zach Galifianakis' like a web-based show,
I guess.
Like,
what's it on? No, it's on Stars or something like that. I don't know.
I've seen very few iterations or episodes of the show, and mostly they've been on YouTube, so I've never actually got it from the source material.
Yeah.
But now that if you haven't seen this trailer, you should go and see the trailer, because I don't know how he gets all these people to. I mean, he must be a very well liked and very, like, good dude to work with.
Yeah, because sure.
The people who show up to to sign their names onto this movie are insane.
So it's on Funny or Die.
Funny or Die. Well, isn't that that's a web thing? That's a web series thing.
And it says the theme song is theme from Taxi Driver.
Is it?
I don't know. By Bernard Herrmann, which I have the record of that. I know it very well. I don't remember ever hearing the theme from Taxi Driver on the show, but I feel we're either being trolled in his listings of the show, which is hilarious, or legit.
I wish we were. I wish that were the case. But God, I was going to ask you a question. Now I fucking forgot it.
Between Two Ferns, Funny or Die.
Oh man, gone.
No, it's all
gone.
Right. Stick your finger in some pie and just give it a few minutes.
There's no amount of finger pie sticking that's going to bring that train back on
We're talking
that
about
track.
Siskel and Ebert, Between Two Ferns, talk shows.
Oh, Brie Larson. What did she win an Oscar for?
The Room.
Oh.
Or maybe it's just Room. Where she's like a mom trapped in a room when basically she's held there against her will and she gets pregnant and has a baby and then she raises the baby in the room and they finally escape. This was like 5 years ago.
Oh right. Now I think I do remember. I didn't see it, but I do remember the premise.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
She won an Oscar for that?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Maybe we would like Captain Marvel more. Not that we hate it.
No, I didn't hate it. No, it was just...
We're not crazy about Brie Larson in it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I kind of want another actress.
Yeah.
And a slightly better script.
Well, a better script would have given her a lot more to work with and a lot more to do, but yeah, I'm trying to see why
that was your question?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay.
Because of the preview that we saw last night, the one that we can't remember, the social justice one with Jamie Foxx and your boy from Creed, whose name I always forget, Killmonger, your boy Killmonger. What's his name?
Mike B. Jordan.
That's him. Yeah. Because it was like Oscar winner Brie Larson, Oscar winner Jamie Foxx, and I was like,
Oscar winner Nas. No,
I was like, Brie Larson won an Oscar, and so
Just Mercy.
Just Mercy, yes. And so I was like, wow, I didn't know that Brie Larson won. And then I started to extrapolate. I was like, oh, that explained how like this woman I've never heard of before.
They gave us like 4 like social justice trailers
there's gonna be a
in
few.
a row.
There's gonna be a few
before it. There was this one. There
Just
was
Mercy, All Rise, which
All
is
Rise,
the other one.
which looked better than this, I think.
You think
better,
so?
All Right. I felt more interested in All Rise than I felt in Just Mercy.
It felt like Central Park 5 light because it only had to deal with one.
Is it fiction or is it nonfiction? Or is it based on?
I feel like it's based on a true story.
Okay.
If Jeffrey Wright's involved,
right?
I feel like if you got Jeffrey Wright involved in it, he's probably doing some like.
It'll probably be good.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway. Anyways, what else you got?
Between Two Ferns, nothing. I mean, I did Star Trek that and Star Trek First Contact, and both of them. I mean, First Contact's better than Generations because it's directed by Frakes, but it's still not like necessarily a great movie.
Oh no, it's not. But it has a lot of great people in it. The guy who plays the guy who invents warp.
Yeah.
That actor.
Yeah, that guy's great.
You see him all over the place.
Yeah.
Now he's usually playing like
it feels
conservative
more
bad guys.
Yeah. If you look at it like a 2-hour like
Star Trek episode,
yeah,
like a Next Generation episode, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
But not as good as some of the other episodes. It's weird that they have all these great writers for like Star Trek: The Next Generation or in Star Trek the TV shows, and when it comes to making movies,
they leave those guys out of the
and they take this like weirdly cinematic kind of approach to it that doesn't necessarily make it a better script.
I agree.
Anyway, so that was basically it.
Well, I got a couple more things, and then we can jump into it for sure. Carnival Row.
Yeah,
I started.
Is it Carnival? No.
It's Carnival. Maybe I need to just sit down and focus on it for a hot second and maybe give it a shot.
It got bad reviews.
It's okay then. Maybe I'm right in the feeling that
the headline I read was like, "No amount of fairy sex will save Carnival Row from being boring."
Is that what happens in it? Because I feel like I'm already like 2/3 through the first episode, and I'm like, I don't know why this would be entertaining. And I say that with caveat because there's a couple of really good friends of mine who worked on the costumes for this.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
so you gotta watch it.
Yeah, and I love these girls. They're some of the best designers and cosplayers I've ever met. Julie and oh my god, I'm blanking on her name. Julie and Al. Julie and Al Abene. And these were girls that I worked with at Sleep No More. They were costume designers and costumers at Sleep No More.
Okay.
For a long time, and I think they designed and made a bunch of costumes for Carnival Row.
And now you gotta watch it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I started. I really didn't have any intention of really watching.
Yeah,
I kind of fall into this lull. Like all the shows that I really kind of were into, have gone into sort of their hiatus.
We're done. Yeah, we're dark for now.
And so I'm kind of like scrounging right now to find new things to sort of be into. And I wanted to.
We got to talk about Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it wasn't on my list this week. It was on my list last week. I figured that you would.
We got to get It Chapter 2 as well. So what
right,
else you
then
got?
I'm gonna go quickly.
I just need like 3 minutes on Dave Chappelle.
Then I'm gonna go quickly. Carnival Row. I think I'm gonna go back to it because Orlando's not bad, and then I like Bloom as an actor.
Right.
And I think a lot of these I want to see these costumes.
I always thought it was funny how in The Hobbit, like, he comes back to reprise his character as Legolas, but he's like clearly like
older,
like 15 years older, and not at all like fat or chunky, but like filled out.
Yeah,
like he's like skin and bones, and like
in those first 3 movies, you're like, you definitely shot this in a one shot. Yeah, you were definitely on a different like eating regimen then, and then he comes back for. Well, I mean, I feel like you could justify that in a number of different ways, but
baby fat.
We'll go circle back. I was into Carnival Row. I was into. I went back to This Is Not Happening. Those series of like stand-up comedians telling true stories. Yes, I went back to watching those. Okay. Those are still really great.
Those are great to put on in the background if you just want to like listen to something while you're cleaning your house.
And that's I was in the sort of like throes of like getting shit together, and so I was really into This Is Not Happening. Pop, This Is Not Happening on YouTube. It's probably on Comedy Central, but I've been getting the individuals on YouTube, which are great. And Dark Side. The last two are one's a video game and one is music. I was into. I think it's the leaked Kanye album.
Oh, there's a leaked Kanye album?
Yeah, I think it's leaked. I don't know if it, or maybe it's already, or this is what's out. It's called Yandi.
Okay.
Like Gandhi, but with a Y.
Yeah.
I
feel like that's a musician.
It's not bad. What? And
I'm thinking Yanni.
No. Yandi. My brother in Texas put me onto it. He was like, "Hey, Kanye's new album leaked, and this is what I was listening to." So I went and listened to it. The whole thing isn't great, which is kind of a veering off of I feel like his talent, because it used to be you would pick up a Kanye album and from start to finish it was sort of like a masterwork. Now it's sort of he's become sort of average. He's like. There are a couple tracks that are really good, and then the rest of the album is just so. And like I said, I think this is leaked, so it may not even be the final thing.
It says there's no release date. It was announced on September 17th in 2018 and had multiple delays and has not been released, probably because Kanye West put on a MAGA hat.
Right.
And went to see Trump and was like, we both got dragon blood. Down it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Listen to my music.
And then Black Twitter was like, this nigga crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I listened to, I guess, a leaked version of it. It's about a 30-minute album.
Okay. I'll find it.
It's not bad. You just put in Yandi on YouTube and it'll probably pop up.
Okay.
And the last thing was the second of the free games for PSN owners, for PlayStation Network owners this month, Darksiders 3.
Yeah. Into it? So you did play some video games.
Really.
Okay. Well,
not because...
The show is called What We Into, not what we not really into.
Well, here's the thing.
All right.
I feel like I would be into it. I feel like actually you would be more into it.
Whoa.
Because it comes from that sort of Dark Souls kind of thing where... And maybe I bumped up the difficulty at the top and I went into sort of like their version of a tutorial, and I started getting my ass handed to me almost immediately.
Ooh.
Right. And I didn't like that feeling, especially like I'm not new to these type of games.
Yeah.
And sort of like for me,
like if I got my ass handed to me in a game like this action kind of like God of War style game, I get it because I don't really play that style of game.
Right.
I still think, fuck this, I'm going to get good at this and fucking show this game.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, fuck this. I'm already supposed to be good at this. This shouldn't be happening to me.
Right.
I'm not into this right now. Maybe I just need to just fuck off for a little bit.
Got it.
I think I will pick it up again because it's free and it's massive. It's 20. It's a 20 gig game.
Damn. All right.
It's 20 gigs. I was like, fuck. But right now I just it's in that Dark Souls way where like when you die you have to go all the way back to where you start. At least that's how it is right now at the top.
Oh, I might like it more. Because I like that style
and
game.
I could I got like they basically run you through a tiny little tutorial and then you fight a boss, like a little boss. And like I think because I bumped the difficulty up on this boss, it's taking longer than it normally would for me, and I just wasn't.
Got it. You push you do that with games, so you make them harder on purpose.
I do because if I don't, I end up running through them in no time. And that's I think that's pretty much all that I meant to start Righteous Gemstones and I didn't get around to it.
You get around to it. You get more episodes.
But yeah, that's what I was into this week.
Yeah, so real quick, and then we're going to jump into it because we only got about like 20 minutes, something like that.
We don't have to go ham on this.
We don't have to go ham.
I don't think it's necessary.
But I wanted to talk about Dave Chappelle a little bit because I watched it the first time, late at night by myself, and I found it funny.
I talked about this. Didn't you talk about this at the top?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was last week's episode, and then we're whatever. I'm just telling you my reaction to it because I listened to you and Joe talk about it last week, and so I watched it and it's funny, but there were definitely some parts where I was like, I don't know. I came back, I watched it again with my wife, and there were definitely things that I was like, okay, I'm not really into that. Specifically,
can you point those because I last week, like the one instance that I pointed out last week, I was like, oh, that's where it kind of went off the rails for me.
What was your instance from last week?
Well, my instance from last week was the like equating being a trans person to feeling like a Chinese person,
okay, so
and then making that the face and the voice, and I was like, oh, Dave,
it was cringy.
It was, It was like, oh, that's too much.
Because it made me actually think of you, and I didn't remember you saying that from last week. That now that makes sense. Because he's talking about, I think it's funny to see, I think it's funny the idea of a man being trapped in a woman's body. And he's like, I just do. It's funny to me. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'm like, okay, great for you, but it's actually not funny. That's like kind of a terrible thing if you really think about it. Like, yeah, you could find comedy in any situation if that's what he's getting at. And then he goes on and makes a Chinese trapped in a black man's body. I'm like, it's not the same thing.
Right.
That's totally two different things.
Yeah.
And that's not even funny, if that's really what you feel like. But it made me think of you, because we had the conversation a few weeks back, and how like when you got to Evansville, this is first what popped into my head when you first got to Evansville, and you realized that people saw you differently than how you see yourself. And I'm like, that's just not funny. And to me, it's just, I don't know, it was just a strange position that he took on that thing. Because I think a lot of what we talked about in prior episodes. In last week's or last weekly news episode, we talked about. I just lost train of thought.
That happens. I do it all the time.
Blah 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 blah.
Yes, that happens when you have too many fingers in pies.
Oh, we talked about how deliberate. We showed him seeing too many fingers in pies. Sorry, I'll take some of my fingers out. We talked about how afterwards he has the audience come up,
smell him a little,
or not come up, but ask him questions, right? And that humanizes him,
right?
And so there's this feeling of while you're watching it. What is something that he actually believes, or what is he saying for the shock value of saying it? There's some jokes, like there was the one joke versus when he points out like why use the why are they using the F word on TV versus the N word? You know what I mean? But I'm not the N word. You know that to me, like there was like some social context and value to that I thought was appropriate because that's an interesting point,
right?
You know, I'm not sure if that's true anymore. If they allow the N word on.
Oh, they definitely do. Comedy Central?
Comedy Central does?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But they don't say the F word?
No.
Oh, really?
When have you ever heard the F word on TV? Unless
I don't watch TV, though. I just watch, like, usually what could be considered uncensored, like either on Netflix or movies or like those things.
Like, and that's typically the only place you hear, you know, both those words in what you use with, you know, reckless abandon. But like on like what was considered network television, your Comedy Centrals, your blah blah blah. Yeah, no, you couldn't like.
Yeah. So those jokes were interesting.
You definitely can't say that.
I got the point of that joke. I didn't understand the point of the trans jokes.
Right.
What was the point? That it's funny? It's maybe. Unless you're trans, and even if you are, his example was like, she was laughing through my whole set, whatever, Daphne, right? But I'm like,
that moment definitely felt like one of those moments where like a racist white person would be like,
yes. Here's my
black friend.
He laughs at the whole thing.
At all the stuff that I talk. Yeah, it definitely felt like that to me, and I was like,
But that
Dave,
don't mean shit.
I don't know if you're hitting. I think you're a little tone deaf on that one.
But more to me, the larger issue is like,
well, specifically for that joke, he was like, "Oh, she used to be a man,
right?
So because she used to be a man, she could take these jokes." It seems like he has this real kind of bent towards a specific kind of trans joke, like if you're a dude that has gone, if you're a trans, and I'm trying to keep my things straight here. If you're a trans woman,
trans male to female,
yeah.
So
if you're a trans woman,
yeah,
then he has more of a problem with you, or he has less of a problem with you than say if you're a trans
male
man.
To female,
yeah,
no, female to male,
right. Because they can't take a joke because because he's a male and he's talking from a male sensibility and a male kind of point of view. Anybody who is a female that has gone to male isn't gonna get his jokes, whereas someone who was a male and is now a female will.
Right.
That's at least what his premise of being like, oh, well, why wasn't Daphne offended by this? I sat in this room and saw all these jokes, blah 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 blah. Oh, because she used to be male.
Yeah, or she just didn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
It's kind of dismissive. Not kind of. It's dismissive.
It's dismissive. Yeah. And it didn't ruin the whole thing for me.
No,
but I was like, why are you picking this
like,
cross, bro? Like, just let that go. Because the other thing is, like, here's like we got Kendrick Lamar's quote, which is basically like, "Motherfuckers can't tell me anything. Don't tell me anything." But this entire special, for the majority of it, 60% of it is his response to criticism.
So it's response to people telling him things.
Yeah. So they did tell you some things.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, that's the critique is like, you can't tell me anything. You can tell me, you can say it, but you can't tell me shit.
It's like if I wore like a really like obnoxious yellow jumper to like Thanksgiving, and you gave me a bunch of shit for wearing an obnoxious canary yellow jumper to Thanksgiving.
And your response would be like, fuck you, you can't tell me shit.
Right. And then the next year, I wore another jumper that just said, not yellow on it or something. You know what I mean? There's a lot of the stand-up was based about the idea of like,
but at that same token, you wearing a yellow jumper to Thanksgiving is not critical.
Of course not.
It's not dire.
No. And
I think maybe
I'm not making a comment on people who are literally a yellow jumper.
No, I get it, but I think your example kind of
course
is sort of an example to what, like, I think that's what his overall message is. Me wearing a yellow, like you're wearing a yellow jumpsuit to Thanksgiving, does not, you know, it's not going to hurt the Passover. It's not going to hurt the festival that is Thanksgiving. It's not going to take away from. It's not going to make Thanksgiving any less important. It's just me wearing. It's just this outer shell that I'm wearing that you have a problem with.
And the other last thing I had was that in the preview, Morgan Freeman, you know, asked the question about, is this problematic or something like that, and he says, Dave Chappelle playing a high stakes game, and I'm like, he's a millionaire. Over, like, he's got a ton of fucking money. What is the high stakes game for Dave Chappelle?
Well, the same kind of high stakes game that I guess he brings up with like the not Louis Anderson, but Louis C.K.
But like Louis in that way, like, and same with Dave Chappelle. Like, so what? You still got all of your money. You still got your $25 million brownstone. You still got your kids going to college. You know what I mean? You can still go do stand up. people are going to have thoughts about it,
Right.
and they're going to criticize you about it, and they're going to say, this is stupid, we don't want this. You can still do it, though. So what is this really costing Dave Chappelle to come out here and say these quote-unquote risky, problematic things? You know what I mean?
That's probably the best point, because at the end of the day, all these people are still millionaires. Like the Kevin Hart thing, like
Right.
Kevin Hart still, like, he may not have hosted the Oscars, but he's still, you know, his movies made gross whatever amount of money they made. People still went out, and that last stand-up special he did crushed, you know, like,
sure,
he, like, it didn't, none of it actually really hurts their bottom line, other than the fact that they can't be as, I mean, Louis lost his show. He definitely had a show on Netflix.
He lost his career.
I wouldn't say he lost his career. I think his career's hit a road bump, because he's still, I mean, he's not gonna not do stand up again. No. You know, he will eventually get back to a level of breadwinning. I mean, he's a white man in fucking America. Plus, he's been a white man in a Hollywood America for a long fucking time.
That's right.
And we were just talking about Woody Allen.
Yeah, exactly. Still
you know
working.
what I'm saying? Still working.
Yeah.
Roman Polanski, they don't pull it. He was just portrayed in a fucking film not too long ago.
And not as like
not as a bad guy.
Yeah, not as a creepy pedophile.
You know what I'm saying? So, like,
yeah,
I don't feel like that for me is probably the best argument that I've heard anyone sort of like put up against it, is that, like, yes, he is saying these risky things, and yes, he is going a little off the reservation as far as like the doubling down stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not going to affect his bottom line, and I think he knows that.
Yeah,
I think at this point in his career, like, he can get up there and say, look, you clicked on my face.
Yeah,
you didn't
which is right. He's 100% right.
You don't have to watch me say this kind of shit, but you have to understand that this is the kind of shit that I say.
Yeah. All that being said, also still a very funny special, and I enjoyed a lot of it. Saw it twice.
Right.
Just had some responses to it.
Same, and that's the exact same thing that I had. I was like, all of this is really funny, Dave, but there are a few moments where I feel like, meh.
Yeah.
You're out of pocket.
Don't,
I wouldn't have done it.
It's almost like don't waste time on that.
Yeah,
just keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. You don't need to waste time on that.
Like it's so smartly written.
Yeah.
For me, it's some of the best. Dave Chappelle, I feel like, is one of the best comedians, because his comedy is so smartly, like, written in a way that, like, he'll frame it so that it seems controversial, and it will seem like he's being outlandish and ridiculous, but then he'll circle back to this point where you're like, oh, that's a social thing, or that's a political thing, or that's, oh wow, that really speaks to me. And that's with all the specials, with the exception of the moments where he's like digging into the transgender thing. And I think, like I said, I think he's definitely, it seems to me like he has a bent towards like trans women versus trans men, like Like, I feel like trans women don't get it nearly as bad as the trans men.
Yeah. Like, we should all be able to laugh at ourselves.
Right.
That's important. But if people aren't laughing, if they're telling you that's not funny, just listen. Just listen. Don't argue. Yeah. Maybe it's easier because I'm a white dude.
Probably. I mean, shit, I don't know. I mean, I would. I mean, I feel like I feel like I'd like to try being a white dude for a year and see if I could compare like the previous 38 years on the planet.
Oh, this script is writing itself.
I mean, I think they did write the script in the fucking 80s. Remember, what was the movie with the dude who, like, played a black guy in it?
Yeah. They had the opposite.
What was it called?
They didn't have, I'll think of it.
Oh, my God.
We should move into it, though.
I can fucking see
me too.
Because he's wearing, like, the Jerry curl wig and the fucking blackface, and I was like, they made this movie!
They made this in the 80s. Yes, they did.
You don't pay your bills. Get out.
Total for 3 years of law school.
Wait a second, look at this. Full tuition for the most qualified applicant.
Most qualified black applicant. $53,979. Don't you think you're overreacting? No.
Congratulations, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, sir. I'll do my best.
Some people would do anything to get into Harvard.
It's gonna be great! These are the 80s, man! It's the Cosby decade!
For Mark Watson, all it took was a little soul.
I'd like you to meet my good friend, Kareem Abdul-Ali.
We got Washington here on the coin toss, so he'll take Leon.
That's Watson.
Right. Sorry, Marcus.
Yeah, there may be a problem here. Your roommate was a,
What?
A black Negro.
A black Negro?
So, I mean, a reverse of that would probably be hilarious.
I don't think people would want to see it. I mean, if a black director and a black writer wrote it, you know what I mean? Then maybe. You can't have you can't get
can't
white
be you
people
and me.
inside.
It can't
you
be
can't
you and
show you can't show like the empathetic version that the black guy learns how hard it is to
All
be
that
white.
means is you just got to do blackface while we write this.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Every interview, just paint some paint on.
I don't want to wear blackface every day on the podcast and when I'm writing
Well,
this.
then just get a really gross tan.
It Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Something happens to you when you leave this town. The farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. I remember all of it.
To the losers?
We made an oath.
Swear? If it isn't dead, if it ever comes back, we'll come back to it.
We didn't stop it.
Pennywise.
The clown.
Hello. For 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. I've missed you.
We need to finish it. For good.
I've seen all of us die. It consumes us from the inside until we don't have a choice anymore.
You lied. And I died. You lied. And I
You loved it. You hated it.
I didn't. I was indifferent.
It was 2 a.m.
I was indifferent. I went into it expecting about what I expected, based on. So the first chapter 1 was really kind of good about setting up the world in that way, but it also was sort of rife with kind of your typical jump scare thing. And we talked a little about this last week on how like the original the TV series kind of. The horror came from the sort of the psychological aspects of what this clown kind of represented and was doing to the people.
Yes.
And I feel like the updated version, the 2017, 18 version,
17.
The new version was kind of just like it relied too heavily, in my opinion, on like these orchestrated jump scares from child to child.
Right.
And in the version in chapter 2, it's just more of the same. It's just a lot
really
more
is.
of that.
Yeah, they even go to the same sewer.
I mean, it's the same locales. I mean, they basically.
It's just about them remembering what to do.
Right?
Yeah.
Which
and that's in the book.
I guess is in the book, right? But
it's just harder because they're adults.
I felt a little to me like, really. Because they don't really explore why they forgot. The only thing that really comes up is, whenever you go out of, like, I think Mike kind of clarifies that up in one like little sentence. When you leave Derry, your memory of things from Derry gets hazy.
Right.
And we're just, okay, I guess that's why they all moved away and forgot.
Right. Well, in this version, the TV version, it doesn't want them to come back. It's scared of them and wants them to stay gone.
Away. And this version felt like he definitely wanted them to come back for this showdown.
Yeah, and the book's a little bit of both. Like he's scared, but he kind of wants them to come back to kill them once and for all.
Right.
But also is genuinely scared of these kids that are now adults and would rather them stay gone.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, because it definitely seems like they take a long time to remember everything, and then. Like they're like when in chapter 1 they almost defeat him in that first wave by like they realize it's our belief in this. Like if we believe strongly enough we can take him out. And it seems like it's like they in chapter 1 they physically almost beat him to death.
Yeah.
And in this version they basically insult him to death. Like they were like,
we don't believe
you're a crown, da da da,
Yeah.
and then that was it seemed like their adult belief was stronger than their adolescent actual ass kicking.
Yeah. And that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot in the book. It's kind of the same thing. It just feels better in the book than it does seeing it. And I can't remember what how the TV show does it. Really, I know there's just a big bad spider and some spider webs. This one, at least they had the clown head on the spider's body, so it kind of like made it humanized it, or made it at least you could look at those two things together and be like, that's
because they make this. They have this line, like Mike has this line in chapter 2 where he's like, and spoiler.
I mean, how do you spoil a book that's been out since 1980?
That's I think that's what this movie suffered from, at least for me. But God damn it,
Mike had this line.
Right? Yeah, the line Mike's like, what does he say? God damn it. Anyway, let's circle back to that.
Okay. Well, so the ritual thing, remember? Because I couldn't put my finger on it, but the whole Indian thing, that was added for the movie.
That was added. That wasn't part of the book.
They found they found this like Himalayan mystical practice book in the past, and they started doing different things from it to try to help it. It's unclear if any of that actually helped or just helped bring them together as a group again. Right. This in the movie, in the 2019 It movie, there's like this whole like, it's like a basket.
Yeah, it's like an Indian like, basket.
And they have to do like some chants and shit and like say some stuff around the basket.
Well, he makes it seem like these Native Americans who had faced off with it originally, which it kind of like the logic kind of falls down for me there in places because so this thing struck the earth billions of years ago, right? And it's not until these Native Americans that it gets started to be recorded, like the recorded history, the recorded history of it kind of was foggy for me.
Well, if you think about it, let me run through this. If it lands 1 billion or even 32 or 50 million years prior to this,
underground, mind you,
in Maine, right, the only people who are going to come in contact with it first are going to be the Indians,
right. I get that, but this. What was it doing in all that time before that? Before like the Native Americans got out? Yeah. Like how did it survive? Did the Native Americans do something to wake it? Was it dormant? Like there are all these questions that like the and it maybe like the book kind of was better about sort of parsing out the information on it, but like at least in this version that they present in chapter 2, the 2019 version, like it left me asking more questions, and I was definitely watching this with a different eye based on the knowledge that you guys dropped on from the book last week.
Talk about the gangbang.
The gangbang, yeah. The gangbang totally changes all of these movies for me. So I'm watching this now with with these eyes of being like, you guys are going to come back together. So you move away, you don't remember that you had a gangbang with these friends of yours. That's not. But then you marry an abusive, spouse.
Yeah, who in the book comes back and goes to Derry
and ends up getting murdered by the losers.
And also, what's his face's Billy's wife comes to Derry as well. I totally forgot about that.
Billy's wife comes to Derry too.
Exactly.
And those were the 2 points in the new version where I wanted a little bit more like meat on the bone, and not like because it goes from 0 to 60 in both those sections where he's like, I can't hear the new baby. Where are the news pages? Come to find out that you can't write an ending to save your life, but we're married and you're writing for me and I'm an actress, and then you just get a phone call and you disappear, and like they were having like a rift right there at the top of that. He was like, wait, so for these last 8 years you just been lying to me about my books? Yeah. Like, no, babe. And then he just goes off.
Peace, I'm
out. I got a phone call from an old friend that I don't remember.
See you later.
And then same thing with Bev, where she's like, well, you it seems like a really like fun and decent relationship until like she's like, I gotta get out of here, and then you realize, oh wait, no, she just married a monster like her dad. And then she basically like she solves that problem where she solves the problem with her dad. She hits him in the head with something and then leaves the place, and then you never hear from him again.
It's strangely the same movie as the first movie.
Yes,
and not in a way that
makes them like worth like the
Watching
27
both,
years.
yeah.
The 27 years that they had spent. Like none of that is worth being invested in. They actually invest more time in sort of rehashing the end of the summer from the previous movie, which I was like,
well, we saw the movie,
right? We kind of get
but
that.
Do you think people just wandered into this part?
Well, I guess we didn't see those little moments. I guess after they defeat Pennywise, they have these little moments that occur because that's what it made it seem like. It made it seem like after they had beaten the clown, there were these events that happened at the end of the summer after they had made their little pact.
Oh no, that's just supposed to have happened before.
See, I think that was editing. That was
it was strange editing. They wanted to show more of like what happened to Richie because that wasn't in the first movie. How he got scared really. They just wanted it, and those things were in the book.
And
they each had,
was Richie's character gay?
Hey, they don't tell you, do they?
Because they kind of allude to the fact that he, liked boys, and like, who was E? Was that Ed? Because Ed's the only one who dies in this.
Richard and Eddie, yeah.
And so it's like when you carve your name plus someone, isn't that like?
Well,
you had a romantic thing with that person?
Maybe they don't tell you.
So it's like that's another like the chapter 2 left me asking all these questions where I was like, I don't know if I should be. And I found myself laughing at parts of this movie where I was like, I don't know if they meant that to be funny, but this is laughable to me.
Well, we got to go because we got to pick up the kids. So what's your final say?
I mean,
burp or fart?
Honestly, I would say wait to see it on bootleg. I mean, it's a 3-hour movie, including the trailers.
Yeah, I mean it's long. They could have cut half an hour out of this.
I'd say 45. Yeah. Definitely. This whole thing could have been streamlined a little bit more. Yeah. And I don't know. For me, it wasn't worth a return to see the same thing because, like I said to you last night when we left, I felt like. Knowing where we end up, knowing what we get to, I was just waiting for that final showdown.
Right.
So everything up until that point was just kind of like...
visually, it's dope.
Visually, it's incredible.
There's a lot of great really visuals in it.
I like their blend. I like... They didn't do it to my standards for the better... the storytelling portions of it, but I definitely like the juxtaposition between... old Derry, like them jumping back and forth between times. That felt really nice to me. Where, like the Age of Innocence was a little bit more brightly shot and kind of remembered in this kind of nice ambiance. Yeah. Whereas sort of like all of their like recent memories were a little bit more dark and a little bit more grave and a little bit more colored, weird.
Henry Bowers wasn't used very well in this either. He talks to Pennywise the whole time. Remember his buddy who's in the car has his own little thing?
Right.
Not that they couldn't fit all of this in, but it's weird what they wasted time on
to do. Right.
In a 2-hour and 49-minute movie. Right. And then they didn't fit some of this other stuff. So I think, there's not a lot out right now. If this movie had been out last week,
you mean last week? Last week you went on record as saying you were thinking this was going to have the biggest horror opening.
I think it still might. We're really into it.
I don't know, man. We were there at basically a midnight showing
Thursday at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, which is basically Friday. That's a midnight showing, and nobody was in this theater.
That's true.
Nobody was in this theater.
We'll see.
It was you, me, and Snoring Guy.
We'll see. It's got, 3 out of 5 star reviews. We gotta go. I'm your host, Lawrence Dial.
And I'm your boy, Rob Karma Robinson.
Sorry that we kind of ran out of time on this one, but we got kids and we gotta pick them up.
Well, that motherfucker got kids.
They're your kids, too.
Yeah, they're my kids.
Admit them.
So hit them with the email addresses and the what have you.
If you want to yell at us about wasting your time and not giving you enough send an email to whatweinto@gmail.com. Dial_Lawrence on Twitter. What We Into Podcast on Instagram.
We doing things.
Patreon.com/whatweinto if you want to throw us a buck.
Please throw us a buck. We like seeing movies.
All right.
And for free, especially ones like it.
Later, haters.
Jesus. Yeah, we got to get you a new tagline.
No, it's perfect.
No, it's trash.
Let's begin now. In another time, in another world, gentle gelflings and simple podlings live together in peace. Every 1,000 years, the three suns of this world would come together in a great conjunction of blinding light. Tremendous energy would pass through a magical crystal located at the heart of a shining castle. But during the last great conjunction, the crystal cracked, and a single crystal shard broke off and was lost. The crystal darkened, and evil came into the world.